You are not weak. You are simply undisciplined. Power is not a gift, it is taken. Greatness is not given, it is claimed by those who refuse to surrender to ordinary thinking. In this world there are two kinds of minds, the conquered and the conquerors. Which one are you training? In this message, I will teach you how to force your thoughts into order, bend your emotions to your will, and think with the precision of an emperor. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully, for I speak not as a mere instructor, but as one who has commanded armies and reshaped continents. Before I ever raised a sword or issued a command that would echo through history, I mastered something far more powerful, the art of unconquerable thought. You dream of victory, yet your mind remains a scattered battlefield. You yearn for power, yet your thoughts are as disorganized as a retreating army. This ends now. I will teach you the first principle of conquest. Thought is the deadliest weapon in your arsenal. When I stood before my generals, planning campaigns that would reshape Europe, I did not begin with strategy. I began with absolute clarity of thought. Every victory, every empire, every legacy that stands the test of time, they all begin in the mind of one who refuses to accept the limitations others call reality. The difference between a conqueror and the conquered is not resources, it is not opportunity. It is the ruthless organization of thought. While others let their minds wander like lost soldiers, the conqueror's thoughts march in formation, each one serving a greater purpose, each one advancing toward a singular objective. You must learn to think in absolutes. There is no room for, perhaps in the mind of a conqueror. When I crossed the Alps, a feat they said was impossible, I did not entertain doubt. I saw only the outcome, victory. This is how you must train your mind. See what you desire with such clarity that reality has no choice but to bend to your vision. Your thoughts must become your most disciplined soldiers. Every morning when you rise, gather them like I gathered my armies, inspect them. Those that serve your empire of ambition, keep them, strengthen them. Those that whisper of doubt or mediocrity, execute them without mercy. A single weak thought left to live can poison an entire campaign. Here is your first command. For the next hour you will think only of your objective. Nothing else exists. Not your fears, not your past failures, not the opinions of those who lack the courage to conquer. Only the crystal clear image of your victory. This is how we begin to forge the mind of a conqueror. Remember, the size of your thoughts determines the size of your conquests. I did not think like a corporal when I was one. I thought like an emperor, and the world reshaped itself. To match my thoughts, this is the power I am teaching you to harness. The weak mind drifts. The strong mind marches. The conqueror's mind commands. Which will you choose? The time for that decision is now. You speak of wanting an empire, yet you cannot even conquer your own morning. This is why you remain where you are, dreaming instead of conquering. Let me show you how a true commander starts his day. When I was building my empire, I rose at 3 a.m., not because I enjoyed it, because victory demands it. While my enemies slept, I was already preparing their defeat. This is the first lesson in daily discipline. The early hours are not a punishment. They are your advantage on the battlefield of life. But it is not enough to simply wake early. Fool can set an alarm. What separates the conqueror from the conquered is what happens in those first crucial moments. When your body screams for more rest, when your mind begs for more sleep, this is your first battle of the day. Win it without negotiation, without mercy. I built my routine with military precision. Every minute was a soldier in my army of excellence. You must do the same. Your morning is not a democracy, it is a dictatorship. You are the emperor, and time is your subject. Command it, or it will command you. Here is your morning battle plan. The moment you wake, stand. No checking messages, no scrolling through the opinions of the masses. Stand like a commander about to address his troops, cold water on your face, not warm, not pleasant, cold. This is how you shock your system into alertness. Dress with purpose, even if no one will see you. An emperor's mindset begins with an emperor's standards. Review your objectives like a general reviewing his battle maps. Be precise. Be ruthless with what deserves your attention. The ordinary. Masses treat their morning like a casual affair. This is why they remain ordinary. You will treat your morning like a military campaign. Every action precise, every moment accounted for, every decision serving your greater conquest. Discipline is not a burden, it is your armor. In my campaigns, the most disciplined armies could defeat forces 3 times their size. The same is true in your daily battles. Your discipline, your ruthless adherence to your standards multiplies your force in every endeavor. Do not tell me you are tired. Do not tell me you need more sleep. Do not tell me it is difficult. Of course it is difficult. If conquest were easy, everyone would be an emperor. The difficulty is precisely what makes it valuable. Remember this, while others begin their day in chaos, you will begin yours in absolute command. While they stumble through their morning, you will march through yours with purpose. While they react to life, you will direct it. This is how empires are built, one disciplined morning at a time. This is how ordinary men become legends, one ruthless decision at a time. This is how you transform yourself from a dreamer into a conqueror, one uncompromising habit at a time. Now I ask you, are you prepared to declare war on mediocrity? Are you ready to treat your morning like a battlefield? Your answer to these questions will determine whether you remain among the conquered or rise to join the ranks of conquerors. When I stood at the gates of any city, I did not see what was before me. I saw what would be. This is the mark of a true conqueror, the ability to see beyond the present moment, to visualize with perfect clarity the moves that will lead to victory. You react to life like a foot soldier responding to what is immediately in front of you. This is the thinking of the defeated. A general, a true commander of destiny, sees the entire battlefield before a single sword is drawn. This is the vision I will teach you to cultivate. Let me tell you how I planned the Battle of Austerlitz. While my enemies were preparing for the battle they could see, I was orchestrating the battle that would be. I saw not just the immediate clash, but the 5th, 6th, and 7th moves that would follow. This is how you must learn to think about your own campaigns. First, understand this: the present moment is already the past. By the time you react to it, the opportunity has vanished. This is why most people remain trapped in perpetual response, always one step behind their destiny. A conqueror thinks differently. A conqueror sees the future with such clarity that the present becomes merely a stepping stone. Train your mind in this way. Whatever situation you face, immediately project your thoughts 5 moves ahead. If you are starting a business, see not just the opening, but the expansion, the market dominance, the empire it will become. If you are beginning a project, visualize not just its completion, but its evolution, its impact, its legacy. This is not daydreaming. This is not idle fantasy. This is strategic foresight, the same vision that allowed me to see Paris from Corsica, to see an empire from a lieutenant's commission. You must develop this same ruthless clarity of future sight. Here is how you begin. Take your current position. Now, imagine it is 6 months from now. What moves must you have made? What positions must you have taken? What resources must you have acquired? See it all with the precision of a military campaign. Then, extend your vision further. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Each future point must be as clear as the ground beneath your feet. The weak mind sees only what is. The strong mind sees what will be. The conqueror's mind sees what must be, and then commands reality to align with that vision. You must understand, the future is not some distant realm that arrives at its own pace. It is a territory to be conquered, a kingdom to be claimed. Your vision is your map, your strategy is your army, and your will is your weapon. When I marched on Moscow, I saw not just the campaign ahead, but the empire it would secure. When you move toward your objectives, you must see not just the immediate goal, but the dynasty it will establish. This is how you begin to think like a conqueror. See the end from the beginning. See the victory before the battle. See your empire. Before you have claimed your first territory, then, and only then, will your actions carry the force of inevitability. The masses stumble forward, their eyes fixed on their feet. The ambitious look to the horizon, but the conqueror sees beyond the horizon into realms that exist now only in their mind, but will soon exist in reality, because they have willed it so. Now tell me, what future are you seeing? Is it clear enough to command? Is it powerful enough to compel? If not, you are not yet thinking like a conqueror. Sharpen your vision until the future burns in your mind with the clarity of the present. Listen to me carefully, for what I am about to tell you is perhaps the most crucial lesson in the art of mental conquest. Your thoughts are not your friends. They are either your soldiers or your enemies. There is no middle ground. When I was building my empire, I discovered a truth that separated me from ordinary men. The most dangerous battlefield is not the one before you. It is the one between your ears. Every day your mind produces thousands of thoughts. Most of them are deserters, cowards, and traitors to your cause. You entertain thoughts of doubt as if they were honored guests. You nurse fears as if they were wounded allies. You coddle uncertainties as if they were precious children. This ends now. I will teach you to become as ruthless with your thoughts as I was with my enemies. The moment a weak thought enters your mind, you must destroy it, not tomorrow, not after you've considered it, not after you've rationalized with it. Destroy it instantly, mercilessly, completely. When my generals came to me with doubts about crossing the Alps, I did not debate with their fears. I exterminated those doubts on sight. Here is how you identify a weak thought. It speaks of limitation instead of possibility. It questions your capability rather than focusing on strategy. It dwells on past failures instead of future conquests. It seeks comfort instead of glory. It makes excuses instead of plans. These thoughts are not merely unhelpful. They are active saboteurs in your mental empire. You must develop the same intolerance for weak thoughts that I had for insubordination. In my army, when a soldier disobeyed orders, I did not seek to understand his reasons. I did not try to reform him. I removed him. Your weak thoughts deserve the same fate. Replace every weak thought with its powerful counterpart. Instead of, "This is impossible," plant, "I will find a way." Instead of, "I'm not ready," install, "I will learn as I conquer." Instead of, "What if I fail?" command, "I will succeed or die trying." Instead of, "It's too difficult," declare, "Difficulty is what makes it worth conquering." But hear this, and hear it well. This is not positive thinking. This is mental warfare. The difference is crucial. Positive thinking is passive. Mental warfare is active. You don't hope for better thoughts. You create them. You forge them in the fire of your ambition. You hammer them into weapons on the anvil of your will. I will tell you something I observed in my campaigns. The soldier who doubts his ability to scale a wall will die at its base. The soldier who believes in his victory will find a way to climb it, even with broken limbs. Your thoughts determine your capabilities far more than your circumstances. When I was imprisoned on Elba, they thought they had conquered me. They did not understand that no prison can hold a mind that refuses to be confined. While they celebrated their victory, I was already planning my return, my mind free from every thought except triumph. This is the power I am teaching you to harness, the ability to purge every thought that does not serve your empire, every doubt, every fear, every hesitation. These are not natural parts of your mind. They are invaders. They are insurgents. They must be crushed. Develop this habit. Every morning, inspect your thoughts like I inspected my troops. Any thought not aligned with your conquest must be eliminated. Any mental pattern not serving your empire must be executed. Be brutal. Be swift. Be final. The weak mind is a democracy of thoughts, where every doubt gets a vote. The strong mind is a dictatorship where only thoughts of power and purpose are allowed to live. Which will you choose to be? Remember this: the thought you tolerate is the future you create. Every weak thought you spare today becomes the reality you must live with tomorrow. Every mental enemy you fail to destroy becomes the force that eventually destroys your dreams. You want to know why most people never achieve greatness? Because they negotiate with thoughts that should be executed. They debate with doubts that should be destroyed. They coexist with fears that should be conquered. I ask you now, are you prepared to become as ruthless with your thoughts as I was with my enemies? Are you ready to execute every mental weakness that stands between you and your empire? Your answer will determine whether you remain a prisoner of your doubts or become the emperor of your destiny. You think you need perfect conditions to succeed? Let me tell you about perfect conditions. I have commanded armies through blizzards, led campaigns through deserts, and orchestrated victories in the midst of complete chaos. The ability to maintain absolute clarity while everything around you descends into madness. This is what separates conquerors from the conquered. Observe the masses. They crumble at the first sign of disorder. They seek comfort when they should seek control. They pray for calm when they should impose order. This is why they remain trapped in mediocrity, while conquerors rise through the chaos to claim their empire. Let me tell you about the Battle of Austerlitz. The morning was shrouded in fog so thick my soldiers could barely see their own hands. Most generals would have waited for better conditions, but I saw what others could not. Chaos is not your enemy, it is your opportunity. While my opponents were paralyzed by uncertainty, I used the fog as a weapon. The same confusion that dismayed them became the instrument of their defeat. This is your first lesson in commanding through chaos. What appears to be disorder is simply order you have not yet imposed. The world is not falling apart. It is waiting for someone with the strength to reshape it. When everyone around you is losing their heads, that is your moment to prove your worth as a commander. While others react, you must act. While others panic, you must plan. While others see crisis, you must see opportunity. This is not natural. It must be trained. Here is how you develop this power. First, understand that chaos is the natural state of things. The moment you expect life to be orderly is the moment you surrender your power to circumstance. Second, train yourself to think clearest when others cannot think at all. Make decisions faster when others are paralyzed by confusion. Third, recognize that every moment of chaos is a moment of opportunity. While others retreat, you advance. While others freeze, you strike. I will share with you a secret of true command: the ability to remain cold when everyone else is hot with panic, to stay sharp when everyone else is dulled by fear. This is not about being unfeeling. It is about being unshakable. When I planned the Egyptian campaign, my advisors saw only obstacles, the heat, the distance, the unknown territory. But in each challenge, I saw an opportunity to demonstrate what superior command looks like. The same conditions that threatened to break my army became the forge that strengthened it. You must train your mind to find clarity in confusion. When markets crash while others sell in panic, you look for opportunities. When your plans are disrupted while others abandon their course, you adapt and advance. When uncertainty reigns while others seek safety, you seek advantage. This is not reckless courage. It is calculated command. Every crisis presents two options. You can be swept away by the chaos, or you can step forward and command it. The choice is always yours, but you must make it instantly, decisively, finally. Remember this: the most dangerous person in any room is the one who remains calm while everyone else panics. The most powerful leader on any battlefield is the one who finds clarity while everyone else is clouded by confusion. I will tell you something about leadership that few understand. People do not follow titles. They follow certainty. In moments of chaos, They will rally behind anyone who demonstrates the ability to command the situation. This is your opportunity to rise. Train yourself in this way. When crisis strikes, do not ask, "Why is this happening?" Ask, "How can I use this?" When chaos erupts, do not think, "How can I escape this?" Think, "How can I command this?" The weak mind sees chaos as its enemy. The strong mind sees chaos as a test. The conqueror's mind sees chaos as a tool, a weapon to be wielded, a circumstance to be commanded, an opportunity to be seized. Now I challenge you. The next time your world erupts in chaos, will you retreat like the masses, or will you step forward and command? Will you let circumstances control you, or will you impose your will upon them? The difference between these choices is the difference between remaining ordinary and becoming extraordinary. When I created the Napoleonic Code, I did not ask permission. I did not seek approval. I saw what needed to be done, and I forged a new law that would govern an empire. This is what I will teach you now, the art of becoming your own lawgiver. You live by laws you never chose, rules written by the mediocre, standards set by the ordinary, limitations accepted by the weak. This ends today. A conqueror does not accept the world as it is presented. A conqueror creates the world as it should be. Let me tell you about power, real power. When I rose from a mere artillery officer to Emperor of France, I did not do it. By following the established path, I forged my own. When they said an emperor must come from royal blood, I rewrote that law. When they claimed certain achievements were impossible, I proved those laws false. First, understand this. Every law that governs your life is nothing more than an agreement made by others, accepted by you. But who gave them this authority? Who decided these were the rules you must live by? The moment you question these laws, you begin to break free from their power. Here's how you start forging your own law. Begin with your personal constitution. Write it in blood and steel. My law was simple. Everything serves the empire. Every action, every decision, every moment, all of it bent toward greatness. What is your law? What is the core principle that will govern your empire? Next, establish your non-negotiables. These are your absolute commands, the lines you will not cross, the standards you will not lower. When I set my standards for my army, they were considered impossible. But I did not care for what others considered possible. I cared only for what I demanded. Your time must have its own laws. When I ruled, my days were not governed by common schedules, but by the demands of empire building. Create your own time laws. When will you rise? When will you work? When will you rest? Let no one else dictate these rhythms. Your relationships must have their own laws. I surrounded myself only with those who served the greater vision. Be ruthless. Here, every relationship either elevates your empire or undermines it. There is no middle ground. Your mind must have its own laws. I decreed that certain thoughts were treason in my mental empire. Doubt, fear, hesitation, these were outlawed. What thoughts will you make illegal in your mind? What mental standards will you establish and enforce? Remember this, the world does not hand power to those who politely wait their turn. Power is seized by those who dare to write their own laws and enforce them with iron will. When I created my empire, I did not ask, "What is allowed?" I asked, "What must be done?" This is how you must think. The masses ask for permission. The ambitious ask for forgiveness. The conqueror? The conqueror simply acts, creating new laws through the sheer force of his actions. You must understand, every great achievement in history was made by someone who decided the existing laws did not apply to them. Every empire was built by someone who dared to establish new rules. When they told me the Alps were impassable in winter, I did not accept their law. I created a new one. Nothing is impassable to those who refuse to accept limitations. When they said a common soldier could not become an emperor, I did not argue. I proved them wrong through action. This is the essence of forging your own law. You do not debate with existing limitations. You do not argue with established rules. You simply create new ones through your actions, your standards, your unwavering adherence to your own code. But hear this, and hear it well. This is not about chaos. This is not about defying law for the sake of defiance. This is about establishing a higher law, a stronger code, a more demanding standard than the world would ever dare to impose upon you. The weak accept the laws they are given. The strong operate within them. The conqueror creates. Laws that reshape reality itself. I ask you now, what laws have you been blindly accepting? What rules have been governing your life without your conscious choice? More importantly, what new laws will you establish today? Your answer to these questions, and more importantly, your actions following these answers, will determine whether you remain bound by the laws of the ordinary or rise to establish the laws of greatness. Let me tell you about my retreat from Moscow. The world saw defeat. I saw education. While others counted losses, I was already calculating future victories. This is what separates conquerors from the conquered: the ability to transform every setback into a strategy, every defeat into a lesson in conquest. You fear failure. This fear makes you weak. It makes you hesitate. It makes you ordinary. I will teach you to see failure differently, not as an end, but as intelligence gathered on the path to victory. When my army faced the brutal Russian winter, we lost men, supplies, and ground. But what did I gain? Knowledge, experience, understanding. Each step of that retreat taught me lessons that would serve future campaigns. This is how you must learn to think about your own setbacks. First, understand this fundamental truth: there is no such thing as failure. There is only intelligence waiting to be gathered. Every setback is a reconnaissance mission into the territory of success. The only true failure is failing to extract the lesson. When you face a setback, do not waste time with self-pity. Do not indulge in emotional weakness. Instead, become cold, analytical, strategic. Ask yourself, what information has this setback provided? What weaknesses in my strategy has it exposed? What assumptions have been proven false? What new opportunities has it revealed? I will share with you a secret of true power. The fastest way to success is through calculated failure. When I was young, I lost battles, but I never lost the same battle twice. Each defeat was a manuscript of victory waiting to be decoded. Here is how you transform setbacks into strategy. First, analyze without emotion. When I lost battles, I did not waste time with regret. I studied them with the cold precision of a military strategist. Every failure has a pattern. Find it, understand it, use it. Second, extract the intelligence. A setback is not a story of what went wrong. It is a map of what must be done differently. When my campaigns failed, I didn't seek comfort. I sought information. What worked? What didn't? What was missing? Third, implement immediately. The time between learning a lesson and applying it should be measured in hours, not days. When I learned from a tactical error, I would adjust my strategy before the sun set. This is how lessons become weapons. Remember this: your setbacks are speaking to you, but they do not speak in the language of comfort. They speak in the language of command. Listen with the ears of a conqueror, not the ears of a victim. The masses see setbacks as punishment. The ambitious see them as temporary obstacles. The conqueror sees them as intelligence briefings from the front lines of success. When I was imprisoned on Elba, they thought they had written the final chapter of my story. They did not understand that I was using every day of that imprisonment to plan my return. Every constraint became a lesson in freedom. Every limitation became a study in possibility. You must develop this same ruthless ability to extract value from every defeat. When your business fails, don't mourn, analyze. When your strategy crumbles, don't complain, recalculate. When your advance is blocked, don't retreat, reassess. This is the art of strategic setback, the ability to stand in the ashes of a defeat and see the blueprint of your next victory. While others are blinded by the smoke of failure, you must train your eyes to see the opportunities hidden within. Let me be clear. I am not teaching you to love failure. I am teaching you to exploit it. Every setback is raw material waiting to be forged into strategy. Every defeat is a resource waiting to be converted into victory. The weak are destroyed by their failures. The strong survive their failures. The conqueror transforms failures into the very weapons that will guarantee their success. Now I challenge you, look at your most recent setback. Are you reading it with the eyes of the defeated or the eyes of a strategist? Are you extracting intelligence or merely nursing wounds? Your answer reveals whether you are training to become a conqueror or remaining among the conquered. When I crowned myself Emperor of France, I did not wait for permission. I took the crown from the Pope's hands and placed it on my own head. This was not arrogance, it was understanding. True power does not seek approval. True power acts with the certainty of destiny. You have been trained since birth to seek validation. Every action, every decision, every ambition, you hold them up for the world's approval like a child seeking praise. This ends now. I will teach you the liberation that comes from eliminating the need for others' approval. Listen carefully. Every great achievement in history was met first with disapproval. When I reorganized France's entire legal system, the old guard was outraged. When I implemented new military strategies, my generals were skeptical. Had I waited for their approval, I would have died a common soldier. The first step toward power is understanding this truth. The masses do not know what they want until a conqueror shows them. They would have never approved of my vision for France until I made it reality. Then, suddenly, they couldn't imagine life any other way. Here is how you begin to eliminate the need for approval. First, recognize that seeking approval is not humility. It is surrender. Every time you wait for permission to act, you give away your power. Every time you seek validation for your vision, you dilute its force. When I planned my campaigns, I did not submit them to a committee. I did not seek consensus. I studied, I calculated, I decided, I acted. This must become your model. Your vision is not a democracy. Your ambition is not up for vote. Understand this. Those whose approval you seek are often those most invested in your mediocrity. They comfort themselves with your restraint. They sleep better knowing you remain safely within their approved boundaries. The need for approval is a chain you must break. When I decided to invade Italy, many thought it was madness. Had I sought their approval, one of history's most decisive campaigns would never have happened. Your greatest achievements will often be precisely those things others advise against. Here is what you must develop: the cold certainty of a commander. When you know your strategy is sound, when you have calculated your moves, you do not need external validation. Your conviction becomes its own authority. But hear this, and hear it well. This is not about being reckless. This is not about ignoring wisdom. This is about understanding the difference between seeking counsel and seeking permission. I consulted my marshals, but I never waited for their approval to act. The masses live in constant fear of disapproval. Watch them, always checking their actions against the opinions of others, always measuring their worth through external validation. This is why they remain masses, while conquerors rise above. You must train yourself to act from internal certainty, not external validation. When I made decisions that would reshape Europe, I did not take polls. I did not ask for permission. I acted from the unshakable conviction that comes from clear vision and careful calculation. Remember this: the world's greatest achievements were all considered impossible by the majority until they were done. Had their creators waited for approval, we would still be living in caves, afraid to challenge the common wisdom that fire was too dangerous to tame. The need for approval is a poison that paralyzes greatness. It turns lions into sheep, warriors into waiters, conquerors into cowards. You must purge this poison from your system. Start with small acts of independence. Make decisions without consulting others. Take actions without seeking validation. Build the muscle of self-trust. Let your results speak for themselves. When I reformed France's education system, I did not conduct surveys. When I established the Bank of France, I did not seek popular opinion. I saw what needed to be done, and I did it. The approval came after the achievements, not before. This is your path to power. Act not from the weakness of seeking approval, but from the strength of absolute conviction. Let your vision be so clear, your planning so thorough, your execution so precise, that external validation becomes irrelevant. I ask you now, how many of your dreams are waiting for someone else's approval? How many of your ambitions are trapped in the cage of other people's expectations? More importantly, are you ready to break free? The world does not reward those who ask for permission to be great. It bows before those who have the courage to be great without asking. Which will you choose to be? Your mind is scattered like an army without a commander. You chase 1,000 different objectives, fight on 100 different fronts, and wonder why you cannot conquer anything. Let me teach you about the power of ruthless focus, the same focus that allowed me to dominate Europe when others said it was impossible. When I prepared for battle, I did not divide my attention. I did not scatter my forces. I concentrated my power on a single point until it shattered under the force of my absolute focus. This is how empires are built, not by dividing your forces, but by concentrating them with devastating precision. First, understand this. Focus is not a soft skill. It is not a matter of simple concentration. Focus is a weapon, perhaps the deadliest in your arsenal. When I broke through at Austerlitz, it was not superior numbers that won the day. It was the ability to concentrate every ounce of force at the decisive point. Here is how you develop ruthless focus. Begin by declaring war on distraction. In my war room, there were no unnecessary papers, no irrelevant reports, no distracting elements. Everything that did not serve the campaign was eliminated. Your mind must become this war room. Every morning, identify your point of attack. Not 3 points, not 5 points, 1 point. What is the single objective that, if achieved, makes everything else easier or unnecessary? This becomes your focus of the day. Everything else is a distraction to be eliminated. When I planned the Italian campaign, I did not allow my generals to present multiple options. I demanded they focus on the single best route to victory. This is how you must treat your own objectives. Multiple options are not a luxury. They are a liability. Understand this about focus. It is not about doing more things. It is about doing fewer things with overwhelming force. When I concentrated my artillery, it could shatter any defense. When you concentrate your focus, it can break through any obstacle. The masses pride themselves on multitasking. They celebrate their ability to juggle multiple mediocre efforts. This is why they remain masses, while conquerors rise through the power of singular focus. Here is your battle plan for mastering focus. First, eliminate everything that does not serve your primary objective. Be ruthless. Be absolute. In my campaigns, any unit that did not contribute to the main thrust was either redirected or eliminated. Your activities must face the same scrutiny. Second, create periods of total war against distraction. When I was planning campaigns, I would isolate myself for hours, focused only on the maps and reports that mattered. No interruptions were permitted. Your focus must command the same respect. Third, train your mind to maintain its point of attack. When my army moved toward an objective, we did not stop for minor skirmishes. Your mind must learn to move past small distractions toward your primary target. Remember this: the world will conspire to fragment your focus. It will present you with endless emergencies, countless distractions, infinite options. This is not an accident. It is the defense mechanism of mediocrity against the force of greatness. When I was rebuilding France, there were 1,000 problems demanding attention, but I understood something crucial. Not all problems deserve your focus. Some problems solve themselves. Others can be delegated. Only a few require the full force of your concentrated power. You must develop the commander's eye, the ability to look at a field of possibilities and instantly identify the single point where your focus will yield the greatest results. This is not a natural skill. It must be trained, developed, refined through constant practice. The weak mind is democratic with its attention, giving equal time to every demand, every distraction, every passing thought. The strong mind is dictatorial, enforcing ruthless priorities, eliminating distractions without mercy, maintaining focus with military discipline. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The ability to maintain absolute focus is what separates those who merely dream of greatness from those who achieve it. While others allow their power to be divided and conquered by distractions, the conqueror concentrates his forces for maximum impact. Now I challenge you. Look at your current battles. How many fronts are you fighting on? How many objectives are dividing your forces? More importantly, are you ready to concentrate your power with the kind of ruthless focus that shatters obstacles and creates empires? Your answer, and more importantly, your actions following that answer, will determine whether you remain scattered among the masses or rise to join the ranks of conquerors. At Austerlitz, I had mere moments to decide the fate of an empire. There was no time for committees, no space for doubt, no luxury of endless deliberation. I decided. Then I dominated. This is what separates conquerors from the conquered: the ability to make decisions with the speed of lightning and execute them with the force of thunder. You paralyze yourself with options. You drown in possibilities. You waste precious time seeking perfect decisions when decisive action would have already brought you victory. This ends now. I will teach you the art of decisive command, the same decisive force that allowed me to conquer Europe while others were still planning their first move. First, understand this. The perfect decision does not exist. Every decision carries risk. Every choice has consequences. What matters is not finding the perfect path, but choosing a path and making it perfect through the force of your execution. When I decided to invade Italy, many thought it was madness. The timing wasn't perfect. The resources weren't ideal. But I understood something they didn't. A good decision executed with absolute force is better than a perfect decision that never leaves the war room. Here's how you develop decisive command. Start by eliminating the luxury of endless options. When I planned battles, I reduced every situation to 3 possibilities at most. More options do not make you more powerful. They make you more paralyzed. Limit your choices. Force yourself to decide. Next, implement the commander's timeline. When I received intelligence, I gave myself a strict deadline for decisions. 10 minutes for tactical choices, 1 hour for strategic ones. No exception, no delay. You must do the same. Set a time limit for every decision. When the time is up, decide. Understand this about decision-making. Speed is a force multiplier. When I moved my armies with unexpected speed, I could defeat larger forces because they were still reacting to my last decision while I was executing my next one. The masses believe that longer deliberation leads to better decisions. This is why they remain trapped in eternal planning while conquerors are already claiming victories. Time spent in hesitation is time your enemy uses to strengthen their position. Here's your battle plan for decisive action. First, gather only the intelligence that matters. When I planned campaigns, I demanded only the critical information. Too much data breeds hesitation. Know what you need to know, then decide. Second, trust your instincts. They are the accumulated wisdom of your experience. When I made decisions that shocked my generals, I was drawing on insights built through years of command. Your instincts are your allies. Use them. Third, once you decide, commit totally. Half-hearted execution kills more dreams than wrong decisions ever will. When I committed to a campaign, every resource, every soldier, every action aligned with that decision. Your execution must carry the same total commitment. Remember this: the world does not reward those who make the right decision. It rewards those who make their decisions right through the force of their execution. When I crossed the Alps in winter, it was not the optimal time, but I understood that the boldness of the decision, combined with overwhelming force in execution, would turn a questionable choice into an historic victory. You must develop the commander's mindset, the ability to make decisions under pressure and turn them into reality through sheer force of will. This is not about being reckless. It is about understanding that the cost of hesitation often exceeds the cost of imperfect action. The weak mind sees decisions as burdens, heavy with the weight of possible failure. The strong mind sees them as opportunities, charged with the potential for victory, the conqueror's mind. It sees decisions as weapons, tools to be wielded with precision and force. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The ability to decide quickly and execute ruthlessly is more valuable than all the knowledge in the world. While others are analyzing, you must be acting. While others are considering, you must be conquering. Your decisions must become like artillery fire, swift, powerful, and followed immediately by advancing forces. No delay between choice and action. No gap between decision and domination. Now, I challenge you, what decisions have you been postponing? What actions have you been delaying? More importantly, are you ready to abandon the comfort of endless deliberation for the power of decisive command? The world belongs to those who decide and dominate, not to those who delay and deliberate. Which will you be? The fool announces his plans to the world. The ambitious speak of their dreams. But the conqueror? The conqueror moves like a shadow and strikes like lightning. Let me teach you the power of silent execution, the same stealth that allowed me to outmaneuver armies twice my size. When I planned my most decisive victories, I did not broadcast my intentions. I did not seek attention. I did not reveal my true objectives until the moment of victory was already assured. This is your first lesson in power. True force moves in silence. You have been conditioned by this age of noise to believe that visibility equals power. You announce your goals on social media. You speak of your ambitions before they are achieved. You seek validation before victory. This is why you remain among the ranks of the ordinary. First, understand this. Every word you speak about your plans is energy wasted on appearance rather than action. When I prepared to retake power after Elba, I did not write manifestos. I did not make speeches. I moved with such silence that by the time my enemies knew my intentions, their defeat was already certain. Here is how you master the art of silent execution. Begin by keeping your plans in shadow. When I developed new military strategies, only my most trusted generals knew the full scope of my intentions. The rest received only what they needed to execute their part. Your ambitions must be guarded with the same military precision. Learn to find power in silence. When others boast, you study. When others announce, you prepare. When others seek attention, you seek advantage. The masses mistake noise for power. The conqueror understands that true power moves like a night wind, felt but not seen until it strikes. Understand this about precision. It is not about perfection. It is about impact. When I struck at Austerlitz, it was not a perfect battle plan. It was a precise strike at exactly the right point with exactly the right force at exactly the right moment. The masses believe that sharing their plans makes them more accountable. This is the logic of the weak. True accountability comes from the silent pressure you place upon yourself, not from the shallow expectations of others. Here is your battle plan for silent execution. First, develop your plans in absolute secrecy. When I reorganized France's Entire government, the changes were already in motion before anyone realized the scope of the transformation. Your most ambitious plans deserve this same protection. Second, let your preparation be invisible but absolute. In the months before a campaign, I would gather intelligence, position resources, and train forces, all without drawing attention. Your preparation must be equally thorough and equally discreet. Third, time your revelations strategically. When I revealed my presence, it was always at the moment of maximum impact. Your achievements should be known only when they are too complete to be stopped. Remember this: the world is full of people who talk about what they will do. The history books are written by those who remained silent until it was done. When I built my empire, I did not waste energy telling the world how I would do it. I did not seek approval for my methods. I simply executed with such precision that by the time my actions were visible, their success was already inevitable. You must develop the discipline of silent power, the ability to work with absolute focus while attracting minimal attention. This is not about being secretive, it is about being strategic. Every revealed plan gives your opponents time to prepare their defense. The weak mind seeks constant validation through premature revelation. The strong mind keeps its own counsel. The conqueror's mind. It understands that silence is not just powerful, it is essential for precise execution. I will tell you something about achievement that few understand. The more significant your plans, the more silence they require. Small ambitions can survive exposure. Empire building requires shadow and precision. Your actions must become like a master swordsman's blade, invisible in their approach, felt only in their impact. No wasted movement, no unnecessary display. Pure, precise execution. Now I challenge you, how many of your plans have you weakened through premature exposure? How many of your ambitions have you diluted by seeking early validation? More importantly, are you ready to embrace the power of silent execution? The world belongs not to those who speak of great deeds, but to those who execute them with silent precision. Which will you be? When I was merely a lieutenant, I did not think like one. In my mind, I was already emperor. This is not arrogance, it is strategy. Your position does not determine your mindset. Your mindset determines your position. Let me teach you how to think like a sovereign even before you wear the crown. You trap yourself in servant thinking. You see yourself as subject to circumstances, waiting for permission, seeking approval from those who themselves are servants to mediocrity. This ends now. I will show you how to develop the mindset that turns commoners into commanders. First, understand this fundamental truth. Every great achievement in history began with someone who refused to think according to their current position. When I was a young officer, I studied not as a subordinate learning regulations, but as a future leader analyzing strategies. The difference between a servant and a sovereign is not in their circumstances, it is in their mindset. The servant asks, how? The sovereign declares when. The servant seeks permission. The sovereign makes decisions. The servant reacts to reality. The sovereign shapes it. Here is how you begin to think like a sovereign. Start with your daily decisions. A sovereign does not wait for optimal conditions, they create them. When I needed to train my army, I didn't wait for ideal weather or perfect resources. I commanded excellence from whatever circumstances existed. Next, eliminate subordinate language from your mind. I hope, I wish, maybe if. These are the thoughts of servants. Replace them with I will, I command, it shall be done. Your internal dialogue must reflect your destined position, not your current one. Understand this about sovereign thinking. It is not about titles or positions, it is about responsibility. When I took command of the army of Italy, I didn't just accept authority, I assumed total responsibility for victory. This is the mark of sovereign thinking. The masses wait for recognition of their authority. This is why they remain masses. The sovereign assumes authority through the force of their decisions and the weight of their responsibility. Here is your battle plan for developing sovereign thought. First, audit your thought patterns. When faced with challenges, do you think like someone seeking permission or someone making decisions? Every thought must be examined and reformed. 2. Align with sovereign thinking. Second, create your court of excellence. When I built my empire, I surrounded myself not with those who would serve me, but with those who would challenge me to rule better. Your environment must reflect your sovereign mindset. Third, act from authority, not anxiety. When I made decisions, I didn't second-guess myself. I executed with the confidence of someone whose authority came from destiny, not appointment. Your actions must carry the same weight. Remember this: the world does not grant sovereignty, it recognizes it. When you begin thinking like a sovereign, you will find reality starting to align with your thoughts. When I reorganized France, I didn't petition for change, I commanded it. This is how you must approach your own domain, whether it's your business, your skills, or your life's direction. Think not as someone hoping for improvement, but as someone commanding transformation. You must develop the sovereign's perspective, the ability to see not just what is, but what must be. This is not about ignoring reality. It is about understanding that reality is malleable to those who think and act with sufficient authority. The servant mind sees obstacles and seeks permission to overcome them. The sovereign mind sees obstacles and issues commands for their removal. Which mind are you cultivating? I will tell you something about power that few understand. The moment you begin thinking like a sovereign, you become dangerous to those who would keep you as a servant. This is why mediocrity fights so hard against elevated thinking. Your thoughts must become decrees. Your plans must become commands. Your vision must become law. This is not metaphor. This is the literal mental mechanism that transforms servants into sovereigns. Now I challenge you. Examine your thoughts over the past hour. How many were servant thoughts? How many were sovereign thoughts? More importantly, are you ready to elevate not just your thinking, but your entire mode of existence? The world doesn't need more servants to circumstance. It needs sovereigns who command their destiny. Which will you become? When I left my comfortable position in Corsica to pursue greatness in France, I did not leave a backup plan. I burned the ships of mediocrity behind me. This is what I will teach you now: the art of making retreat impossible. For it is only when you cut all ties to average that you force yourself to become extraordinary. You keep safety nets beneath your ambitions. You maintain comfortable fallback positions. You leave doors open to mediocrity. This is why you remain trapped in the ordinary. You have not made excellence your only option. First, understand this. Mediocrity is not merely a position, it is a prison. But it is a prison with comfortable cells, pleasant guards, and inmates who will fight to keep you there with them. The hardest chains to break are the ones you don't realize you're wearing. When I rose through the ranks, I did not maintain friendships with those content to remain lieutenants. When I built my empire, I did not keep counsel with those who thought small. This was not arrogance. It was strategic necessity. Here is how you begin cutting the ropes to mediocrity. Start with your associations. Look around you. Who celebrates your comfort more than your conquest? Who soothes your mediocrity rather than challenging your greatness? These are not friends. They are anchors disguised as allies. Next, eliminate your escape routes. When I launched campaigns, I positioned my armies so retreat was not an option. Victory or death, these were the only choices. Your ambitions must be structured with the same finality. Understand this about greatness. It is not achieved by adding more to what you do. It is achieved by cutting away everything that keeps you ordinary. When I reformed France, I did not simply add new laws. I destroyed the entire old system that kept mediocrity in place. The masses believe in gradual improvement, in keeping options open, in maintaining safety nets. This is why they remain masses. Greatness demands elimination, the ruthless cutting away of everything that does not serve excellence. Here is your battle plan for severing mediocrity. First, identify your comfort zones, then destroy them. When I trained my armies, I deliberately placed them in uncomfortable situations. Comfort is the enemy of excellence. Your growth must be forced through the deliberate elimination of easy options. Second, make your decisions irreversible. When I crossed the Alps, I made sure my army could not turn back. Your commitments to excellence must carry the same finality. Burn the bridges too average. Make excellence your only option for survival. Third, eliminate the vocabulary of mediocrity. Good enough. Maybe later. I'll try. These phrases are ropes that keep you tied to the ordinary. Cut them from your language. Replace them with the language of absolute commitment. Remember this: every great achievement in history was made possible by someone who first made mediocrity impossible for themselves. When I was rebuilding France, I did not attempt to please everyone. I did not try to maintain comfortable relationships with those who opposed progress. I cut away everything and everyone that did not align with greatness. You must develop this same ruthless dedication to excellence. The ability to sever not just the obvious ties to mediocrity, but the subtle ones, the habits that keep you comfortable, the relationships that keep you small, the beliefs that keep you bound. The weak mind sees these ties as safety nets. The strong mind sees them as chains. The conqueror's mind? It sees them as obstacles to be eliminated with absolute prejudice. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The moment. You make excellence your only option. You tap into resources you never knew you had. The human spirit has infinite capacity for greatness, but only when mediocrity becomes impossible. Your commitment to greatness must become like a guillotine. Swift, sharp, and final in its separation of excellence from mediocrity. No half measures, no partial commitments, no backup plans. Now, I challenge you. What ropes to mediocrity are you still holding? What comfortable options are you maintaining? What relationships, habits, or beliefs are keeping you bound to the ordinary? More importantly, are you ready to cut them? Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Now. For this is the only moment in which transformation is possible. The world is full of people who dream of greatness while maintaining their citizenship in mediocrity. Are you ready to renounce yours? When I took command of the army of Italy, I found soldiers who had grown comfortable with defeat. Their standards had adapted to failure. Within months, these same men were achieving the impossible. What changed? Not their capabilities, their standards. I will teach you now about the power of standards that refuse to bend. You tolerate mediocrity. In your life, you accept explanations for failure. You negotiate with weakness. This is why you remain where you are. Your standards are not an aspiration. They are a command. And your current commands are far too weak. First, understand this. Your standards are not what you desire. They are what you cannot live without. When I demanded excellence for my armies, it was not a request. It was a condition for existence under my command. The difference between the great and the ordinary is not talent. It is standards. When I rebuilt France, I did not accept the standards of the old regime. I created new ones that would forge an empire. Your life must undergo the same transformation. Here is how you begin raising your standards. Start with your daily practices. A soldier who tolerates dirt on his rifle will tolerate failure in battle. What small compromises are you accepting? What minor defeats have you normalized? These are not small matters. They are the foundations of failure. Next, audit your tolerances. When I inspected my troops, I looked for what they had begun to accept that I would not. Your life requires the same inspection. What have you started to tolerate that your future self would find disgusting? Understand this about standards. They are not goals to be reached, they are laws to be lived. When I set standards for my empire, they were not suggestions. They were the minimum requirements for participation in greatness. The masses believe. That gradual improvement is the path to excellence. This is why they remain masses. True transformation comes not from slight improvements, but from radically elevated standards that make your current life impossible to continue. Here is your battle plan for raising standards. First, declare war on compromise. When I governed France, I did not compromise with inefficiency. I did not negotiate with incompetence. Your standards must become equally absolute. Second, make excellence your only acceptable currency. In my court, flattery meant nothing. Excuses meant nothing. Only excellence had value. Your life must operate on the same economy, excellence or nothing. Third, create standards that terrify ordinary people. When I shared my plans for Europe, most thought them impossible. Your standards should provoke the same reaction. If your standards don't scare people, they're not high enough. Remember this: the world does not rise to meet your dreams. It rises to meet your standards. When I demanded the impossible from my armies, they achieved it not because the impossible became easier, but because their standards made failure unthinkable. When I transformed the French legal system, I did not ask what was possible within current standards. I created standards that forced new possibilities into existence. Your life must be approached with the same imperial command. You must develop the standard setter's mindset, the ability to declare new laws of personal excellence and enforce them with imperial authority. This is not about being harsh. It is about being absolute in your commitment to greatness. The weak mind sees standards as flexible guidelines. The strong mind sees them as serious goals. The conqueror's mind, it sees standards as unbreakable laws that govern reality itself. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The moment you raise your standards, you create a crisis in your life. Everything that met your old standards now fails to meet your new ones. This crisis is necessary. It is the birth pain of excellence. Your standards must become like gravity, an unchangeable force that everything in your life must adapt to or perish. No exceptions, no special circumstances, no temporary lowering of the bar. Now, I challenge you, look at your life through the eyes of your highest self. What standards have you allowed to slip? What mediocrity have you begun to tolerate? What excellence have you negotiated away? More importantly, are you ready to establish standards that would make your current life impossible to maintain? For this is the only way transformation occurs, through standards that force you to become someone new. The world adjusts to the standards you set. Set mediocre standards, and mediocrity will swarm to meet them. Set standards of excellence, and watch as reality reshapes itself to rise to your command. When all of Europe aligned against me, they could not break my resolve. When I was exiled to Elba, they could not imprison my mind. This is what I will teach you now, how to build a mental fortress so impregnable that no external force can shake. Your conviction. You leave your mind undefended. You allow every doubt, every criticism, every setback to breach your walls. This is why you crumble under pressure. A conqueror's mind must be more fortified than any physical stronghold. First, understand this. Your mind is not a garden to be tended, it is a fortress to be defended. When I faced the combined armies of Europe, my greatest defense was not my military, it was my absolute, unshakable conviction in my destiny. The difference between those who break under pressure and those who thrive is not circumstance, it is mental fortification. When I was surrounded at Austerlitz, it was not my strategy alone that won the day. It was the impregnable fortress of my conviction. Here is how you begin building your mental fortress. Start with the foundation, your core beliefs. These must be set in stone, not sand. When I believed in my destiny to rule France, it was not a hope or a wish, it was a certainty carved into the bedrock of my mind. Next, build your walls high and thick. Each wall is a conviction that cannot be breached. Your vision, your standards, your purpose. When I reformed France, every criticism bounced off the walls of my certainty in what needed to be done. Understand this about mental fortresses. They are not built for comfort. They are built for survival. When I planned campaigns, I didn't create comfortable thoughts. I forged iron convictions that could withstand the storms of war. The masses build mental houses of straw, easily blown away by the winds of challenge. This is why they remain masses. A conqueror builds mental fortifications that can withstand armies of doubt. Here is your battle plan for mental fortification. First, identify your non-negotiables. These are the cornerstones of your fortress. When I led armies, my belief in victory was non-negotiable. Your core convictions must carry the same weight. Second, establish your defense systems. Every great fortress has multiple layers of defense. Your mind must be equipped to repel doubts, deflect criticism, and resist the siege of mediocrity. Third, create internal supply lines. A fortress is only as strong as its ability to sustain itself. Your mind must be able to generate strength, conviction, and certainty without relying on external validation. Remember this: the strongest walls are useless if you leave the gate open to toxic thoughts. When I commanded armies, I did not allow defeatist talk in my presence. Your mind must be guarded with the same vigilance. When I was imprisoned, my captors could contain my body, but they could not breach the fortress of my mind. This is the power of mental fortification. It makes you unconquerable, even in defeat. You must develop the fortress mindset, the ability to maintain absolute conviction while under attack from all sides. This is not about being rigid. It is about being unshakable in your core while remaining tactically flexible. The weak mind is an open city invaded by every passing doubt. The strong mind is a defended position. The conqueror's mind? It is an impregnable fortress that generates its own power. I will tell you something about mental strength that few understand. The moment you build true mental fortifications, you become genuinely dangerous to mediocrity. The world can only defeat those who leave their minds undefended. Your mental fortress must become your command center, a place from which you can observe challenges without being shaken by them, process defeats without being broken by them, and launch counterattacks without being drained by them. Now I challenge you. What are the weak points in your mental fortifications? Where do doubts breach your walls? Where do fears scale your defenses? More importantly, are you ready to transform your mind from an open field into an unconquerable stronghold? The world can only conquer those who leave their minds unfortified. Are you ready to build your fortress? Listen carefully. A mental fortress is not built in a day, but it can be started in a moment, this moment. Each conviction you strengthen, each doubt you eliminate, each certainty you reinforce adds another stone to your walls. Your thoughts must become your soldiers, your convictions, your walls, your vision, your watchtower, and your will the commander of this mental stronghold. From this fortress, you will not simply resist the world, you will conquer it. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, not the strongest, but the one who carries a cold, unwavering certainty in their core. When I walked into negotiations with emperors and kings, I did not need to prove my power. I simply carried it. Let me teach you about the kind of confidence that freezes opposition and commands respect without a word. You mistake arrogance for confidence. You confuse volume with power. This is why your attempts at strength ring hollow. True confidence is not hot with emotion. It is cold with certainty. First, understand this. Confidence is not an emotion to be felt. It is a force to be wielded. When I faced the combined armies of Europe, my confidence was not based on feeling powerful. It was based on cold calculation and absolute certainty in my preparation. The difference between true confidence and mere bravado is temperature. Bravado burns hot and fast like a fever. True confidence runs cold and steady, like a glacier advancing across a continent. This is the confidence you must cultivate. Here is how you begin developing cold confidence. Start with your foundation, knowledge. When I commanded armies, my confidence came not from personality, but from knowing every detail of warfare, every capability of my forces, every weakness of my enemies. Your confidence must be built on equally solid ground. Next, eliminate the need to prove yourself. When I took power in France, I did not waste energy convincing others of my right to rule. I simply ruled. True confidence does not seek validation, it assumes command. Understand this about cold confidence: it is not about feeling good. It is about being certain. When I made decisions that would reshape Europe, I did not need emotional support. I needed only the ice-cold certainty that my calculations were correct. The masses mistake confidence for a personality trait. This is why they try to develop it through affirmations and posturing. True confidence is developed through preparation, knowledge, and the elimination of uncertainty. Here is your battle. Plan for cultivating cold confidence. First, replace emotion with calculation. When I planned campaigns, I did not rely on feeling confident. I relied on knowing that every detail had been accounted for. Your confidence must come from the same place of absolute preparation. Second, develop silent authority. The loudest person in the room is usually the most insecure. True power does not need to announce itself. Let your preparation and execution speak for you. Third, maintain temperature control. Hot emotions cloud judgment. Cold calculation clarifies it. Train yourself to lower the temperature of your confidence until it becomes an unstoppable force of nature. Remember this: the most powerful form of confidence is the kind that doesn't need to speak. When I entered a room of monarchs, my presence alone shifted the energy. This came not from trying to be confident, but from being absolutely certain of my position and power. When I negotiated treaties, I did not try to appear powerful. I simply was powerful. This is the difference between manufactured confidence and true authority. One is a costume to be worn. The other is a force that emanates from your core. You must develop the ice-cold mindset, the ability to remain absolutely certain of your path while others panic, to stay glacially calm while others burn with emotion. This is not about suppressing feelings, it is about transcending them. The weak mind tries to feel confident. The strong mind acts confident. The conqueror's mind? It simply is confident, as naturally as ice is cold. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The moment you stop trying to appear confident and simply embody cold certainty, you become truly dangerous. The world can resist heated aggression, but it bends before cold authority. Your confidence must become like a winter night, clear, cold, and absolute. No heat of emotion, no fire of insecurity, just the quiet, unstoppable force of complete certainty. Now I challenge you, how much of your current confidence is heat and how much is substance? How often do you try to appear confident instead of simply being certain? More importantly, are you ready to lower the temperature of your power until it becomes truly unstoppable? The world has enough hot air. What it needs is the kind of cold confidence that reshapes reality through pure force of certainty. Are you ready to cultivate this power? Remember, cold confidence is not about what you feel. It is about what you know. It is not about what you say. It is about what you have prepared. It is not about what you show. It is about what you are. When I created the Napoleonic Code, I was not thinking of tomorrow. I was thinking of centuries. When I built institutions in France, I was not building for my time. I was building for the ages. This is what separates mere achievers from empire builders. The understanding that legacy is not left to chance. It is carved into history with deliberate force. You think too small, too immediate, too temporary. You build for the moment instead of the millennium. This is why your achievements, however impressive, will be written in sand instead of stone. Let me teach you how to build a legacy that defies time itself. First, understand this. Legacy is not what's left when you're done. It is what you deliberately create while you live. When I reformed France's educational system, Every detail was designed not just to solve immediate problems, but to shape generations yet unborn. The difference between achievement and legacy is not size, it is intention. When I created the Bank of France, I was not simply establishing a financial institution. I was creating a foundation that would influence economics for centuries. Your works must carry the same weight of intention. Here is how you begin building. Deliberate legacy. Start with your timeline. Most think in days or years. Legacy builders think in decades and centuries. When I designed systems for France, I asked not, will this work now? But will this serve empire 100 years from now? Next, eliminate temporary thinking. Every decision you make must be measured not by its immediate effect, but by its echo through time. When I standardized French law, each article was written with the understanding that it would shape society for generations. Understand this about legacy. It is not about being remembered. It is about being impossible to forget. When I built my empire, I did not seek to create memories. I sought to create systems, institutions, and changes so fundamental they would become the new foundation of civilization. The masses build for immediate reward. This is why they remain masses. Legacy builders understand that true power lies not in what you can hold in your hands, but in what continues to exert force long after you're gone. Here is your battle plan for legacy building. First, audit your intentions. Every project, every venture, every creation, ask yourself, am I building this for now, or am I building this for always? If your answer is the former, your thinking is too small. Second, design for permanence. When I created institutions, I built them to withstand the storms of centuries. Your works must carry the same architectural integrity, designed not just to stand, but to become fundamental to the future. Third, seed your influence. Legacy is not about maintaining control. It is about releasing forces that continue to shape reality in your absence. Every system I created was designed to self-perpetuate, to grow stronger with time. Remember this, the world is full of people who want to leave a legacy. But legacy is not left. It is built deliberately, methodically, with the precision of an architect and the vision of an emperor. When I shaped Europe, I was not responding to circumstances. I was creating circumstances that would respond to me for centuries to come. This is how you must approach your domain. Don't simply operate within systems. Create systems that will operate long after you. You must develop the legacy mindset, the ability to see not just the immediate impact of your actions, but their reverberations through time. This is not about ego. It is about intention, not about fame, but about fundamental change. The weak mind builds for today. The strong mind builds for tomorrow. The conqueror's mind, it builds for all time. I will tell you something about power that few understand. The moment you begin building with legacy in mind, your decisions acquire a weight that commands respect not just from the present, but from the future. Your works must become like the pyramids, not built to impress contemporaries, but to stand as testimony to vision and power long after their creators have passed. Each thing you create must carry this weight of intention. Now, I challenge you, look at your current projects, your ventures, your creations. How many are built for the moment, and how many are built for the millennium? How many will leave marks in sand, and how many will carve changes in stone? More importantly, are you ready to transform your thinking from achievement to legacy, from temporary to timeless, from success to significance? The world has enough people building for now. What it needs are architects of the future, engineers of legacy, creators who understand that true power lies not in what you can achieve in a lifetime, but in what continues to achieve through lifetimes. Your legacy must be like an empire, not built by chance or circumstance, but designed with such precision and executed with such force that it becomes not just part of history, but a foundation upon which history itself is built. Every victory I ever achieved was won first in my mind. long before a single soldier marched or a single shot was fired. This final lesson is perhaps the most crucial. The greatest battles, the most decisive victories, the most profound transformations, all are won first in the unseen arena of thought. You have been taught to believe that circumstance determines outcome, that external forces shape destiny. This is the thinking of the defeated. Let me show you one final time how empires are built and destinies are forged in the battlefield of the mind. First, understand this absolute truth. Every external battle is merely a physical manifestation of a mental conquest already achieved, or a mental surrender already made. When I conquered Europe, each victory was simply the visible expression of battles I had already won in my mind. The difference between those who shape history and those who are shaped by it lies not in their circumstances, but in their mental dominion. When I rose from obscurity to emperor, it was not circumstances that changed first. It was the empire of my thoughts. Here is the final architecture of mental conquest. Begin with absolute mental clarity. Before I ever commanded armies, I commanded my thoughts with military precision. Every doubt was court-martialed. Every fear was executed. Every weakness was purged. This is where your conquest must begin. Next, understand that your mind is not just a tool, it is the primary battlefield. When I planned campaigns, the physical terrain was secondary. The true territory to be conquered was the mental landscape. Mine, my armies, my enemies. Grasp this about mental warfare. It is not about positive thinking. It is about absolute dominion over your internal empire. When I faced seemingly impossible odds, I did not try to think positively. I simply refused to accept any thought that did not serve conquest. The masses believe that thoughts are like weather, something to be experienced and endured. This is why they remain masses. A conqueror understands that thoughts are like armies, to be raised, trained, and commanded with absolute authority. Here is your final battle plan for mental conquest. First, establish complete dominion over your mental territory. Every thought that enters your mind must pass through your imperial guard. Those that serve your empire are enlisted. Those that undermine it are eliminated. Second, forge your thoughts into weapons. When I transformed France, each policy, each reform, each institution began as a thought forged in the foundry of my mind. Your thoughts must carry the same weight of purpose. Third, extend your mental empire outward. True power is not just about controlling your own thoughts. It is about projecting your vision with such force that it reshapes reality itself. When I spoke of victory, my certainty transformed the beliefs of armies. Remember this: the world you see is not the world as it is. It is the world as you have allowed your mind to conceive it. When I looked at a map of Europe, I did not see immutable boundaries. I saw a canvas waiting for the brush of my vision. When I commanded armies, I understood that their physical training was secondary to their mental conviction. A soldier who believes in victory with absolute certainty is worth 10 who merely hope for it. Your mind must command itself with this same unshakable conviction. You must develop the mental commander's perspective, the ability to see your thoughts, not as random events, but as forces to be mobilized, troops to be commanded, powers to be directed with strategic precision. The weak mind is a democracy of random thoughts. The strong mind is a disciplined army. The conqueror's mind? It is an empire unto itself, expanding its dominion first over its own territory, then over reality itself. I will tell you this final truth about power. The moment you achieve absolute command over your mental empire, the physical world begins to bend to your will, not through magic, but through the inexorable force of focused, concentrated, commanded thought. Your mind must become your first and greatest conquest. For once you have achieved total victory in this unseen arena, all other victories become merely a matter of time and execution. Now I issue you this final challenge. Are you ready to wage this most crucial of all campaigns? Are you prepared to establish absolute dominion over your mental empire? Are you willing to become not just a thinker of thoughts, but a commander of them? The world's greatest battles are not fought on physical fields, but in the empires of the mind. And the greatest victory you will ever achieve is not over others, but over the vast, untamed territory between your ears. This is where empire begins. This is where greatness is forged. This is where history is written in the silent, decisive battles of the mind. Now go, command, conquer, create your empire, first in thought, then in reality. For this is the way of the conqueror, the path of the emperor, the road to true power.